welcome everyone. Just for full transparency, we will be recording this session today for people to view later. My name is Eric Karstens and I am the program manager at Bowseat Ocean Awareness Programs. If you're new to Bowseat, welcome. And if you are not, welcome back. Our flagship program is the Ocean Awareness Contest, which invites young people to create and make art to speak up for our blue planet. It's open to students worldwide, ages 11 to 18 in either middle or high school. It's totally free to enter, and you are welcome to submit visual art, poetry, spoken word, creative writing, film, music, dance, interactive, and multimedia submissions. This year, our theme is the funny thing about climate change. So our challenge to you is to use humor, satire, or other fresh perspectives like irony, parody, or even optimism to communicate the urgency of the climate crisis. We want to know what's a fresh perspective that you don't typically associate with climate change messaging, and how can you use it to advocate for our environment? Now, humor is the poster child of our contest, but it is not the only tool that you can use. So we welcome you to think outside the box. We offer cash awards of up to $1,500, including the We All Rise Prize, which offers $2,750 awards to students in the US who identify as Black, Indigenous, or Latine. We have also partnered with the amazing Taylor Johnson, who is a poet, activist, and spoken word artist for the Voice of the Sea Award, which recognizes notable spoken word submissions. Keep an eye on our social media accounts because Taylor will be sharing lots of tips and tricks for whether you're new to spoken word or a seasoned poet. Our cash awards are not restricted at all, and you can use them for anything from tuition to art supplies to your own personal expenses. The deadline for submissions is June 13th, 2022. Ooh. Now, our deep dive series is where we introduce you to artists, scientists, and community leaders and activists whose unique strategies for science communication are pushing climate science into new creative depths. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Maynard Okereke, better known as the Hip Hop M.D. His passion for science and entertainment, along with his curiosity for new innovation, has taken him through an incredible life journey. Noting a lack of minority involvement in STEM fields, he created hip hop science with the goal of encouraging minorities and youth to pursue more advanced career paths. His background in engineering, acting, business, and in the music industry as an artist make him uniquely qualified to engage on a wide variety of topics from an entertaining perspective, which is clear if you see his weekly vlogs and daily social media posts, which provide both humorous and informative sci-com content. Maynard holds a degree in civil engineering from the University of Washington. He's an award-winning science communicator, having received both the Asteroid Award for the best streaming content and the People of Change Award for his community outreach efforts. Now, without further ado, I will hand the mic over to you, Maynard.
Hello, thank you very much. I'm looking here on the list, and we've got some familiar faces, I think, in here, and a lot of new faces, but it is a pleasure to be part of this series. So I want to thank everyone responsible for having me. It is a treat to be able to share a little bit about my background and the work that I do in SciComm with all of you. So I'm incredibly excited, and I hope this is going to be fun and entertaining. We're all taking time out of our schedules on a Thursday afternoon, depending on where you're at in the world, because I think we got people from all across the globe, East Coast, West Coast. I'm here in sunny Los Angeles, California. So it is a pleasure to be able to speak to you guys on an afternoon. So I hope this will be fun and entertaining for all of you. I have a little PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to go through, talk a little bit about me, my platform, because I'm sure you're all wondering, who is this hip hop science, hip hop MD guy merging hip hop and music and pop culture with STEM? We'll get into all of that. And then afterwards, I want to open it up for Q&A. Feel free to ask whatever questions are on your mind, because I'm sure you'll all be intrigued and want to know more. And if you haven't gotten it yet, or if some of you haven't seen some of my content, you know I always stay hyped and energized. So I hope you're all feeling hyped and energized with me as well too. So without further ado, I'm gonna try to share my screen here and make sure that everything is working appropriately. Sometimes I gotta do this twice because when I first open it up, it doesn't want to share. So let me go through here and give me a thumbs up if you all can see my screen. Just fine. Thumbs up if you can see my screen. Yes, awesome. First time was a charm this time around. Absolutely incredible. All right. So we had the great theme of giving science its rap, which I thought was kind of dope. I kind of like that. I like that. It flows off the tongue really well. But I also want to combine it with the theme that I've talked about in previous presentations, a theme that I kind of hold dear to me, and also a phrase that I utilize in all of my outros for all of my videos. And that is curiosity is nature's PhD. So a little bit about this will go into how I've used curiosity in my life to explore all sorts of different things that I've been involved in, and how I've used it to navigate my career in SciComm and also navigate my career in STEM to get to where I am today doing my work with hip hop science. All right. So Hip Hop M.D, as I'm sure you're all wondering, how did I come to this character, this crazy guy in a lab coat and headphones talking about intersectionality of science and music? Well, I wasn't always the Hip Hop M.D. I actually started off as just an artist. I was always a creative. From an early age, I was always into music, whether it was performing on stages, whether it was writing music, working with other artists. That was my passion. Hip hop music was what I loved. It was my outlet, my creative outlet to be able to do the things and experiences around me. But while I was also doing that, I was always a nerd. I always had this crazy nerd side. I was always into engineering and wildlife and biology. I actually went into college with the goal of studying wildlife science because I had this just affinity for nature and ecosystems and how things evolved. And I just loved going out and exploring. And then I got into college and I met a lot of different peers, people doing a lot of work in engineering, and I always kind of had a love for design and building. And so I ended up studying civil engineering, and I graduated with a degree in civil environmental engineering from the University of Washington. I don't know if we got any Seattle peeps in the house, but if we got any Northwest peeps, yes, UW, go Dogs. Deborah, okay, I see you, Deborah. Yes, go Dogs, we in the house. All right, I love it, I love it, I love it. So I graduated with a degree in civil environmental engineering, and I worked at a company called Turner Construction for a number of years, doing all sorts of heavy infrastructure projects, stadiums, high rises. It was an amazing job. I loved it. I had an opportunity to do some incredible work, built buildings for Microsoft. If you ever go to Seattle and you go and rent a car, the rental car facility, I was one of the lead engineers on that project as well too, did all the quality control for that building. So it was a fantastic job, learned a lot within the engineering field. But as I said, going in as an artist and a creative, always wanted other outlets to be able to express myself. And I felt inhibited. I felt like I couldn't be my full true self in everything that I wanted to explore and do. And so I did the whole leap of faith. I left engineering, retired from engineering, and I moved down to Los Angeles to pursue entertainment, which is where I'm at now. Started doing a lot of on-camera work, acting, commercials, everything across the board, you name it, production. Had an opportunity to be a part of some award-winning films. It was absolutely incredible, and still do some of that work today when I do have time, but still involved into the entertainment biz. But all of that to say, as we put this equation together, all led me to doing the work that I'm doing now with my hip hop science platform. I really kind of hold this journey really dear to me because all of these experiences really shaped me to be who I am today, to be able to incorporate music, entertainment, pop culture, fashion, all these different thematic things that we all connect with and that we all love, to be able to combine that with my love of science and then now bring that to the masses and be able to share with students and adults as well has been my passion. And really with that focus of really encouraging more minority and youth involvement into the STEM fields, that's where my true passion lies. And so all of that led to me doing the work that I'm doing now in science communication. And I think it's really kind of cool to talk about SciComm in a way, because I didn't really come into this with an intention of being a science communicator. I didn't even know SciComm was a thing. I didn't even know that that was a field. Now I'm meeting people that are getting PhDs in science communication, all sorts of different elements. And I've been able to connect with an incredible community of science communicators that are doing some fantastic work. So I want to dive into a little bit about what SciComm is, because it's still kind of a new bubbling field in a lot of different ways. People are still learning a lot about it, but it's one of the most important STEM jobs, and I've really fallen in love with it and really found a place within it. I'm sure a lot of you know these faces here, all right? Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye. These are some of the OGs, I would like to say, in the SciComm game, right? We all grew up watching Bill Nye. Still a fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson, Star Talk. I'm gonna speak that into existence. I'm gonna hopefully be on a Star Talk episode real soon. Gonna make that happen. But I say this because these are kind of the familiar faces. This is what we know of SciComm. But there's so many people doing incredible work in science communication right now that aren't on TV, that aren't getting the love and shine and representation that you see some of these individuals get. But the work that they're doing in SciComm is so important. Science communicators, we use our scientific expertise, whatever background you're in. I have a background in civil and environmental engineering, and so obviously I have an expertise within that element. But you use your background, you use your expertise to now be able to educate and inform the public of new happenings, new things that are going on. Draw excitement and spark curiosity. I think to me, that's the most important element of science communication. I don't know if any of you guys are Netflix fan, if you watched the recent movie, Don't Look Up. All right, I'm sure if you put your hands up, I'm looking in the chat for the ones that have the cameras on, if they've actually seen Don't Look Up, or you can leave that in the chat if you've seen that. Maybe give your star rating for what it was, or if you enjoyed the film or not. I thought it was an absolutely incredible film. And especially right now within the community of science communicators that I'm a part of, we talk about projects like that because we deal with this all the time, right? Really being able to try to communicate hard, heavy hitting scientific subjects, things that are really important that affect all of us in society, and then really looking at how the public perceives that, right? And one of the biggest things that all of us can connect with right now that's a big factor is things like this global pandemic that we're dealing with, right? Science communicators really try to express and really be able to inform the public of scientific data, right? To make sure that we have the proper information, to make sure that we're believing in science. And it's a tough thing, especially now with the advent of social media. Everybody has access to information, right? So anybody can try to be their own expert, but it's still important that we have experts in place that can really be able to give us the proper information, because science evolves. It changes every single day. So when we get some new information and we express it to the public, a lot of times it's perceived as we're just kind of throwing miscellaneous facts, or that we don't know what's happening. But it's really important for people to really understand the true science, to be able to know how things change and why we communicate the data the way that we do. And so the global pandemic has really showcased the need for science communicators, people in different fields, whether it's virologists, whatever you do that involves really educating people about the pandemic and how things are changing with all these different new strains, all sorts of different things. Science communication is really key, and that's a really thriving example, and one that's front and center for all of us to see, but lots of different examples in all sorts of different areas. But enough pandemic talk, because we're done with the pandemic and nobody wants to talk about that. That's why we're stuck on these Zoom chats over here virtual, because we're in this pandemic, but we're going to keep it live. All right. So with that being said, STEM, I think this is really important to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about why STEM is important and why it's a pleasure for me to be on this platform and talk to all of you, because I know we have people from all sorts of different backgrounds. We have students in here, we have adults that are navigating their careers and everything. But I think it's always important for all of us to know why it is that we're involved in this work, why it is that we're talking on all these different topics, such as oceanic conservation and all the different programs that OSEED is representing as well too. STEM is the future. This is how things are trending, right? We look at all of the jobs that are in place and how the future is manifesting itself. Technology, the tech fields are where things are at, the leading fields in innovation. Things are always changing, as I mentioned earlier. And I had an opportunity to go to CES a couple of weeks ago, which is a consumer electronics show, and got to see all the latest technologies, things that are going to be coming out in the next year and the next 5 years. And these are the leading fields. We have different things going on in virtual reality. We have different things going on with crypto. We have different things going on with electric vehicles, all these different things that are going to affect society, that are going to affect culture, that are going to affect people, affect jobs, all these different things. But that is the wave of the future, technology. There's so many different opportunities within the STEM fields, STEM careers. Think about things like engineering, biology, tech fields, so many opportunities for growth and different paths to be able to navigate. And that's why it's really important for me, especially as I have this focus of encouraging more minority and youth involvement into these STEM fields. It's really critical for our youth to know kind of how things are steering, because they're going to be the ones that are going to lead us out of different things like this pandemic. They're going to be the ones that are going to lead us into a more prosperous future in regards to conservation and protecting our oceans and protecting our environment and stopping climate change. All of these things are important for young students to know and have a connection with, and especially underprivileged and underserved communities, to be able to know where the opportunities lie so they can be able to set themselves up for the best success possible. All right. And with that being said, it's not, I think it's for me, it's part of my duty to be able to showcase when we talk about these opportunities and talk about how this is the wave of the future, how to really be able to navigate and how to really be successful and find success in these fields. Okay. For me, a lot of it's community, right? And I showcase a little bit about my background, how I got into science, but I came about it from a roundabout perspective, right? I didn't go straight into going into SciComm. I didn't go straight into studying engineering. I came into it doing what I love. And I'm always a firm believer that if you do what you love, you will find success around it. I stated when I first got into University of Washington, I wanted to study wildlife biology. And I remember specifically, I had peers, when I told them this, that were like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna sleep in trees and watch animals? There's no money in that. There's no money in that. You gotta go to where the money's at, all right? And so that was part of the reason also why I transitioned into engineering, because I'm like, okay, I can have a stable job in engineering. I know there's going to be opportunities. Somebody's going to hire me. I'm not going to have to scramble to try to figure out what I'm doing post-college. But the crazy part is, now that I am here doing the SciComm work, a lot of the work that I do is around wildlife and around conservation and talking about different biological topics and wildlife sciences. If anybody follows my channels, I have a heavy focus on that because I love wildlife. I love ecosystems. I love environment. And so in a roundabout way, I've come back to the wildlife specialty because that is something that I still love. So do what you love. And this whole theme is talked about curiosity is nature's PhD. I think it's important to stay curious. And I think that's important for all of us, regardless of what age you are, whether you're a young student coming into the STEM fields, whether you're a young professional currently navigating a career, whether you're older and you've already gone through your career, maybe you're retired. Curiosity is something that should always be instilled in us no matter what, because there's always something to explore. There's always something new. There's always something that we don't know. And I'm a firm believer in never stop learning. And curiosity is really what's led me to the work that I'm doing now in SciComm. And this is really particularly to young students and young professionals coming in. Don't be afraid to shine. I know this was a tough thing, the thing that inhibited me from really being able to open up and do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. And I think this bodes true for a lot of people that are going into the STEM fields. A lot of times people look at people that are in STEM and they're like, oh, you're a nerd, you're smart, you do all the, and sometimes that actually fosters different things like imposter syndrome, feeling like we're not good enough, feeling like we can't really express ourselves to different people. I always tell young professionals who are going into this world, like into this field like myself, don't be afraid to shine. Don't be afraid to express what you've worked for, whether it's your degrees, whether you've gotten your master's, your PhD, your bachelor's, whatever it is, express to people what you're passionate about and what you do. And that's going to manifest so many different things, so many different opportunities in your career as you continue to move forward. So, with that being said, we talked a little about STEM. We talked about my background and some of the work that I do. And obviously we're here with BOCE. We're talking about ocean awareness programs. So what would this conversation be without having some topics about our deep sea and ocean exploration? And this is something that I had an opportunity to be connected with front and center this past year. In August, I had the opportunity to be part of Ocean Exploration Trust and be a part of the Nautilus Live. And for anybody that doesn't know about the EV Nautilus, this is the ship right here. If a show of hands, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Ocean Exploration Trust, or leave it in the chat if you are, if you've heard about Ocean Exploration Trust or any of the work with the EV Nautilus, or maybe you've tuned in to the YouTubes and the live streams and the social media and all of the content that they do about ocean exploration. I see some hands here. Yes, awesome. I see some people in the chat. Yes. This for me was probably, well, not probably, this was the highlights of my year last year. I had an opportunity to go fly 0G and experience weightlessness on the Go 0G. And this still topped that because I had an opportunity to do something that I'd always wanted to do, which was be part of a research team, right? I always grew up watching National Geographic, right? And Discovery Channel, and you see people going out and exploring, and you see these research scientists being live in the field. I always wanted that experience. I always craved that. And I had the opportunity to be able to do that with an amazing team of scientists and science communicators as well, too. The EV is a research vessel specifically designed for ocean exploration and discoveries. Dr. Ballard, owner and founder of this program, one of the discoverers of the Titanic. If you guys don't know his story, look it up. Absolutely incredible. But this program is so amazing. When I applied for this fellowship, and I was supposed to go in 2020, and we all know what happened in 2020. So the trip got postponed, and I had the opportunity to be able to go last year, and it was life-changing. This program is so important because we think about the oceans, right? And we think about everything that the oceans have to hold between wildlife and all the effects that it has on land and the environment and climate and all these different things, right? The fact that 80% of the seafloor is still unmapped still blows my mind. Even after being on this program and learning so much about our deep sea, all of the different things that we don't know blew my mind. And this program is changing that. It's connecting us more with the ocean, and it's connecting us more with new discoveries and really doing everything that I love, which is sparking curiosity and showcasing the wonders of the world around us. This is me getting ready to board the EV Nautilus on day one. And we had the opportunity to be out about 250 kilometers off the shores of the North Pacific, off the coast of Vancouver Island. And it was absolutely incredible. I had a sprained arm, or sprained hand, because I was working out a little too hard like 2 days before this trip and sprained my wrist. So I started off the first week with the wrist kind of wrapped up, but it was still an amazing experience. 30 days at sea communicating science. Everything that was happening on board the EV, I was a part of. I got to get hands-on with different experiments that were taking place. This was a very heavy engineering focused trip, which was fantastic for me. So I got to dive into a lot of different engineering focuses, from electrical engineering, computer engineering. We did seismic studies. We collected biological data from the sea floor. We did mapping of the ocean floor as well. So many different things that were so conducive to learning more about the deep sea. We had the opportunity to work with the team at Ocean Networks Canada, which was absolutely incredible. This is me in the control room right here. You can kind of see the control room back there. All the ROV pilots are at the front there. They're able to do all the controls for the ROVs, which we'll talk about a little bit later, which was amazing to be a part of, to be experience everything front and center on this trip. So what are some of the things that we did on this exploration? We touched on so many different topics, and I won't be able to get through all of them because there was so much, but I'll give you a little bit of some of the highlights of some of the things that I enjoyed on my 30 days at sea. One of our big focuses was setting up early earthquake detection systems, right? And we think about all of the things that we can do with the ocean and all the things that the ocean has to offer. I had no idea that this was even possible, right? We know about obviously different things that we're doing on land to be able to find ways to be able to detect earthquakes, whether it's looking at faults, whether it's looking at seismic research and volcanic activity on land, all these different things. But that same volcanic activity, that same geological movements that's happening on land are happening at the sea as well too. And we had the opportunity to be able to set up early earthquake detection systems, use acoustic and telecommunications data to be able to give us information about what's happening below our seas, and to be able to have this whole connected network. We had miles and miles of cable set on the sea floor that was connecting all sorts of different seismic instruments and all sorts of other data and tech instruments, combining that with all the research that was going on with our team. It was absolutely incredible. This right here is a DAL, Deep Acoustic Lander. This was absolutely incredible. It had hydrophones on it. One of these was actually sent to Marianas Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, to be able to detect and hear what's going on at the deepest parts of our oceans. We've actually brought this on our trip, and we set this at a specific location, and it monitored sound. It captured sound of what it sounded like on the sea floor. Absolutely incredible. I didn't even think that was possible to be able to hear sound on the sea floor. That contraption was designed specifically for that. It was incredible. This is a wave glider. We set this out at different points during our trip. It did all sorts of different things, from detecting currents at the ocean waters to be able to triangulate all sorts of different data from different things that different instruments that we set out on the sea floor. This was kind of the glue that connected all sorts of important information. And these are solar panels on here, so it was completely autonomous. It was doing its own thing. We were able to deploy that out, collect data, capture it afterwards, and be able to take that back to the lab and get all sorts of important information, which was absolutely incredible. As I said, this was an amazing team that was doing so much interesting research on here. We deployed so many different things that I wouldn't be able to get to on this chat, but we had all sorts of different deployments of different things that would collect data, different things that are for communications, different things that are for biological data. And we had our ROVs, which I'll get to, that are pretty exciting. But to be able to be a part of this project and see so many different things was absolutely amazing. And I did a lot of content on this trip, and I got some videos that I'll play for you during each of these slides. But this is one of the videos that kind of highlighted a little bit about some of the different things that are going on the EV Nautilus. And I think you guys will find this entertaining. Hopefully, give me a thumbs up if you're able to hear this when I play it, so I'll make sure it's sounding right.
Ever wonder what it's like? I'm filming a TikTok. A TikTok. No, not the clock. TikTok. Yeah, I know TikTok is a clock, but it's tick. Ever wonder what it's like to live on a boat?
100,000.
Well, don't let every rapper you've ever known of fool you. Living on a boat ain't all about popping bottles. It's popping science.
Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess that's why they're broken, you're so fake. Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess that's why they're broken, you're so fake.
It's for TikTok. We're gonna make it work. This is so stupid. So our trip wasn't all scientific data and nerd stuff. We had a lot of fun on this expedition. Like I said, got to meet an incredible team, and everybody was so cool. I had them doing all sorts of ridiculous things throughout this trip, and everybody went with the flow. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it. I see Megan here in the chat. This will be funny forever. Absolutely. There's so many shared experiences and such great camaraderie with the team to be able to be a part of all the different things that are happening. That was fantastic. So more of that, more of those crazy videos to come, and I'll kind of dive into a little bit about that process as well. But along with all of the tech stuff that we did a lot of biological studies. We did everything from seeing how climate change was affecting marine life and microplastics, and doing some research on seeing from soil samples to be able to see how different things like pollution may be affecting different parts of the ocean. Identifying marine life, hydrothermal vent research. I mean, this was absolutely incredible. We've seen videos of hydrothermal vents, but to be able to actually see them like live, even though we're on, watching them through a video on the ROV, but to be able to be on the deep sea, all right, 3,000 plus kilometers down, and be able to witness hydrothermal vents, places where scientists are looking at as a possibility of the development of life as we know it, possibly from hydrothermal vents, and to be able to see the research behind that, see the type of gas releases that are happening there, to be able to see how organisms are thriving in such a harsh environment. It was absolutely incredible. I had an opportunity to play around with this octopus, which is really cool. We were doing some sediment samples at one of the locations. And obviously when you bring back the ROVs on the ship, sometimes you get some critters that might like to come back with you. And this octopus actually came back in one of our boxes as we brought the ROV up. And we had a fun, really getting a chance to play around with it, take some pictures before we let it back out in the ocean, but got to see some really, really cool marine life. These two worms right here, absolutely incredible. These organisms lived around the hydrothermal vent regions, and to be able to see organisms like this thriving, and to be able to take samples and be able to now do some research, to be able to do some RNA samples, DNA samples, to be able to see how these organisms are developing over time and how they differ from different regions, absolutely incredible. This was in the wet lab. on the EV Nautilus. We had all sorts of different locations. You saw from that last video, so many different parts of the ship that were all geared towards specific different things. This wet lab was incredible. I spent a lot of time down here with the team, either looking at organisms that we collected, looking at sediment samples that we brought up from our ROVs, being able to now store those in the freezers and the fridges that we had in there for later sampling. Absolutely incredible. So many different things happening on the ship. And like I said, this video right here, this is another one of the videos that I shared on my platform. One of the things I really loved about doing this research was I learned so much. Like all of these different instruments and different things that we did, I learned right there on the ship. And I had such a great opportunity to work with a team that shared so much knowledge. And I was able to just soak that up as a sponge. And I used my hip hop science platform to now be able to communicate a lot of these topics about different things that I was learning at the deep sea in a way that audience and people that follow my platform could be able to connect with. And that's really one of the things that I pride myself in sharing. So I had this video that I did on the sediment traps. And if you never heard of a sediment trap, well, now you will.
Have you ever lived in a trap house?
Trap.
A dark, shady place filled with unknown particulate matter? If you're thinking of this place, or this place, think again. Don't let the Migos or 2 Chainz fool you. A trap house ain't all it's trapped up to be. This right here is a sediment trap house.
Trap.
Okay, it's a sediment trap, but you know, this instrument is deployed around hydrothermal vent locations. It uses a cone-shaped
Trap.
with a honeycomb covering to filter in settling particles on the sea floor. The particles are collected in 21 brine-filled cylinders that are remotely rotated. This brine, or highly salty water, helps the containers
Trap.
samples on the sea floor without mixing due to its high density. These samples give scientists an understanding of the particle flux of the region, as well as information about the composition of the soil over time, making this trap house not your ordinary establishment.
All right. So if you didn't know about sediment traps, hopefully that informed you a little bit more about sediment traps. All right. But along with biological studies, one of the stars really of our show was the ROVs and the mapping that we were able to do with our incredible ROVs, Hercules and Argus. These were so amazing. It was such a treasure to be a part of such a unique engineering and robotics project, right? I think I got some other pictures that I'll showcase of the ROVs, but this is me next to Hercules. This ROV was absolutely incredible. I showed you in the control room in the last image. This was where all the ROV pilots would control these ROVs, Hercules and Argus. We would deploy these out in the water together. They were tethered together, so they always stayed together, except for later on when we had some technical difficulties, which I might talk about later. But these are what we use to collect the samples from the deep sea and to be able to do everything from putting out sediment traps to collecting different samples and to be able to collect organisms as well too. They had cameras, they had lighting to be able to navigate everything on the sea floor. It was absolutely incredible. This was WALL-E, not to be mistaken with WALL-E like the movie, but a robot nonetheless. And this was absolutely cool to be a part of as well. Deploy this out of the deep sea. This helped us be able to connect some of our telecommunication systems at the sea floor, to be able to set up some camera equipment, to be able to do some monitoring at different locations. And it was literally a robot like a WALL-E, had these treaded tires and everything. It could explore and navigate on the sea floor. Absolutely incredible. One of the really important things that we did on this trip was doing a lot of our acoustic systems and sonar seafloor mapping. As I said, there's so much of the oceans that's yet to be explored. And one of the important parts about the EV Nautilus is while we're doing all this incredible research and navigating through the deep seas and all sorts of different regions all across the globe, we're able to collect data as the sea is navigating, as the boat is navigating across the seas, which is really important. All this data that's going to become so useful in helping us understand what's going on geologically on the seafloor and the different changes that are happening on the seafloor as well. This is a little piece that I did for S.T.E.M All Access, which is this really cool virtual program that connects thousands and thousands of students from all across the globe into different areas in STEM. And I had a whole session about robotics, which I did a whole full 8-minute video. This isn't an 8-minute video. There's just a quick little 1-minute clip to kind of showcase a little bit about one of the incredible features of the Hercules ROV, which I'll play for you right now.
Robots are designed to make our lives simpler, performing tasks that we either find too tedious or too dangerous to do ourselves. And what more difficult task to perform than underwater deep-sea explorations? So here are 3 robotic fun facts about the Hercules ROV that you probably didn't know. Number 1, Predator Arm. Just like the alien being that terrorized planet Earth, the Predator Arm on this ROV is a highly advanced technological masterpiece. Used to pick up, transport, and install all sorts of equipment, as well as collect biological and geological samples, the arm is incredibly dexterous and can rotate in multiple directions. Hydraulically powered, it sits across from a second manipulator arm and helps Hercules carry upwards of 250 pounds worth of samples or tools to and from the ocean floor.
Cool. So for all of our ROV lovers, as I see in the chat, hopefully that gave you some insight, a little bit more about Hercules and the importance of that ROV. Like we said, robots are changing our lives. And the fact that we're able to employ that type of technology out in the deep sea to give us a better understanding of what's happening in our waters was absolutely incredible. Now we go into the communication. This would be the last kind of topic I talk about here on our ocean exploration. This was a part that was really connected with me, and also really why I was brought on board or accepted to be part of this fellowship was to be part of the science communication team on this trip. So along with doing all the technological studies and the biological studies and deep sea mapping and all sorts of different things that we're doing on board the EV Nautilus, one of the fundamental and important parts of the project as well is to be able to communicate that information to the masses, to be able to share that with the community and share that with people all across the globe. So what we did throughout this project and while my 30 days at sea, I was part of the science communication team. So on all of our dives, I would be part of the team to actually narrate this to our YouTube channel because we shared everything live that was going on 24/7 on this trip. So whenever we would launch our ROVs out into the water, I was there communicating this live on our YouTube channel to all the followers. I was working with the research team there to be able to narrate what's going on in the dive, what technical mission we were on, what project we were on, what we were looking to explore, what we were looking to find, and shared that with the community. And that was so important because you found out that people from all across the globe tuned in. I mean, we'd have people from Sri Lanka, we'd have people from Russia, we'd have people from India, all across the globe, really being sucked in and following us for 8+ hours as we're doing these missions on the deep sea. It was absolutely incredible to see how engaged the audiences were and to be able to collect and connect that hard science with people in a really new and interesting way was so important to me. And then on top of that, we did a lot of outreach work while we were there. So like I said, my Hip Hop Science platform is all about sharing my love of science with audiences all across the globe. And I had the opportunity to do that with schools and institutions literally everywhere. Every single day, we'd have classrooms that would tune in, that want to know about some of the research, some of the discoveries that we're making, some of the things that we've seen in the past, some of the things that we're looking to do in the future. And so I was able to connect with classrooms all across the globe. And sometimes I bring on the pilots on board and we tag team together answering questions. Sometimes we bring some of the oceanographers or marine scientists that we have on board to communicate this information to people. And then, like I said, and you saw with the previous videos, I was able to do all sorts of different content for my science platform and then do that for other organizations and continued outreach. Even since I left my trip, I've been doing speaking sessions. I've been doing engagements with schools and classrooms all across the world, showcasing some of the research that we've done on the trip and tying that in with my Hip Hop Science platform and making our love of the oceans and ocean exploration more accessible for all. And I'll kind of blow through this here because I know we have some questions and I don't want to keep everybody on this thing too long. But this was kind of geared more towards, we've got students here that are looking or interested in different opportunities and different areas of research because we have this love of the ocean and we're talking about ocean awareness and all these different programs and talking about this research that the EV Nautilus is doing. What I found really, really cool as far as being part of this research team on this project was being able to access all the different career paths that people on board this ship had. And we talked from people that, ROV pilots, obviously, but marine biologists, marine scientists, and to be able to see all the different opportunities within these fields was so important, right? We talk about marine biology, which is such a broad field, but then to be able to see all the specific types of skill sets, you had mappers, you had sonographers, you had people that are working on just seafloor mapping and navigation, right? All these different areas that you would not normally tie in with marine biology, marine science, were all factors in these fields. And so to be able to see all the different unique career paths that people went into to now be part of a research team and be able to share their knowledge with the masses was so incredible. Environmental planning, when you talk about marine conservation, right? Something we'll get to a little bit later, climate change and all these different things that are happening with pollution, how they're affecting our oceans, all these different collective career paths all fused together to be able to make this research happen. And it was so awesome to be able to see that. So I kind of leave the guys with this. I always try to now apply this knowledge and these kind of shared experiences to what are things that we can do now when we're thinking about our oceans and we're thinking about ocean awareness and how we can really be able to be more connected and share this love and be able to now find ways to protect our waters, right? One of the important things that we can do is communicate, right? We talked about this SciComm world that we're in and communicating different proper information about the pandemic and all sorts of different scientific discoveries and things that are happening day in, day out. We hear about climate change and all these topics every single day, but to be able to communicate that in a proper way, support programs and be a part of that conservation force, right? And explaining the importance of this, being able to be a part of conversations with people like yourselves in this chat, right? And other virtual programs and other deep dive series that you'll probably tune into later on. Being able to stay connected with that community and share this knowledge with people is so important. But then once you communicate that, it's all about taking action, right? That's being a part of cleanup projects, conservation projects, being a part of things that are happening in your community. If you live anywhere on the coast, right, you have access to different waters. There's so many different programs that are happening every single day. I had the opportunity to connect with this organization based in the Bahamas called Coral Vida. They have this program where you're able to adopt a coral, right? And you have people that are fund these different adoption programs, and they actually do coral restoration projects throughout different waters throughout the world. And it's so cool to be able to see all these different developing programs that are out there thriving. And a lot of times it just takes a little bit of research to be able to find these programs and different ways that you can support them. So taking action is critical. But like we said, from this theme of this topic, right? Curiosity is nature's PhD. Continue to explore and stay curious. Being a part of the Ocean Exploration Trust program and to be able to spend 30 days at sea on that program stemmed from me being curious. When I actually applied for that program, I didn't think that I would be able to get in because I just started my hip hop science platform. I just kind of started in this SciComm space. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I have the credentials or anything that's going to elevate me to be in a position to be able to do anything that's going to be of benefit for this program. But I was so curious. I wanted to know more. I wanted to be a part of a research project. Like I said, that was always a dream of mine. And I applied myself and I stayed curious and I opened the doors up for different opportunities, and those opportunities came. And when they came, I was able to take action and to be able to build some momentum with them. So staying connected, staying informed of different things that are happening in your communities, different programs that are happening, sharing the links for different things that we're having like today with different people and different programs, and sparking that curiosity in our youth goes a very, very long way in opening the doors for so many great things and ways to navigate careers in STEM. So with that being said, I want to be able to kind of open this up for any questions that anybody may have. I want to say thank you first and foremost for taking the time to listen to me rant and banter and share some crazy science videos with you as well too. But you know, curiosity is nature's PhD. I'm a very firm believer in that. Sparking curiosity, staying excited, no matter what age group, no matter what background you come from, there's always something new and exciting to learn. And I hope that you guys learned something from this session today. So thank you very much for your time. And I'll look through the chat here if anybody has questions, but if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask anything, feel free. I'm an open book. I'm here for all of you, so feel free to ask away. I see here in the chat, when is the next live YouTube event? Wish my classes could have watched. That's from Jeff. That's a great question. EV Nautilus is not currently on a mission at the moment. Our mission season is over. I'm not exactly sure when that will start up. I know we got some EV Nautilus folks in here. Maybe they can chime in. But that is something that we do every single year. So when the season launches again, the opportunities to be able to do live streams for your classrooms will definitely be there. But I would say absolutely do it. It's such, talking to educators that have shared that with their students, students get so excited. They're so curious about what we're exploring, to be able to have access to the different researchers and the different career paths and people that are on the ship is incredible. Your students will gain so much from it. So if you have the opportunity to be a part of it, absolutely do that. I see another question here from Meg. She says, I'm a new diehard fan of Ali Ward's great science podcast, Ology. She's a fellow Angelino. Yes. Have you thought about producing something with her? Absolutely. Ali is awesome. She's a friend of mine. She's been super supportive of my platform. She's thrown me some great Ali hoops. If you guys follow my platform, you know, I call it the Hip Hop Science Show, but I call that for a reason, because one of my goals, obviously having an entertainment background, is to be able to develop my platform into a show. I talked to you about you looking up to people like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse and as these science communication idols. And we're in this new space right now where edutainment is so needed, and be able to communicate different STEM topics is so important. So I am in the works right now of producing a show that will hopefully go to networks, knock on wood. So I got a team right now that's working with me. Ali Ward has been absolutely incredible. She's thrown me some good connections with some different projects that I've done for some Netflix programs and some other STEM programs for youth as well too. So yes, that is something that we have in the works, and obviously always looking to connect with more fellow science communicators in this community. Deborah asks, can you share your social media handles again? Yeah, I can. You can find me at Hip Hop Science Show on all my platforms. But if you, I could share this screen real quick if you want to be able to see this. Oh, there we go. Yep, you can see all of my handles there. It's at Hip Hop Science Show on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You can't miss me. I'm a crazy guy in headphones and a lab coat. But on Twitter, it's different. I am the Hip Hop M.D. on Twitter as well too, for all my Twitterins out there. Is that a word, Twitterins? It's a word now. Julian has a question. I might be mistaken, but it looks like your glasses have no lenses. Why? You're absolutely correct. There are no lenses in these glasses whatsoever. These are lensless glasses. Funny story behind that, actually. When I first started doing this Hip Hop M.D. persona, it started out when I was doing entertainment work out here. When I just first moved to Los Angeles, I was going to casting calls and trying to get booked for projects. And every time I started talking to agents, also managers, and everybody's like, in order to eventually get cast, you have to kind of shed light on something that you hope to be cast for. You have to show these people what it is that you envision yourself as. And I was like, I always envisioned myself as this crazy scientist that would talk about fun science topics in different interesting ways. And so that's kind of how the Hip Hop Science platform came about. I started doing a lot of different sketches, like comedic sketches based around this quirky science character. And these glasses were actually some like 3D glasses from like movie 3D glasses that had gotten broken. And I just wore them and did this comedic video, and it looked like I was this crazy, weird nerd, and they just kind of stuck. And that's what, 5 years ago now, and they've just kind of stayed with me. And so these are my Hip Hop M.D. staple attire along with my headphones. For anybody that has a camera on, I see some faces. If you have any questions, feel free, or even if you don't have your camera on, you want to ask me questions, feel free. Or you could always slide in my DMs, reach out to me on social media, or reach out to me on my website, hiphopscienceshow.com. I have boxes there if you're ever interested in anything from programs for schools, because I do a lot of different school programming, whether it's you're doing keynote presentations for schools all across the globe, doing workshops. I got a workshop that I'm doing for Maryland School District next week. We're going to do some hands-on virtual workshops, and that's actually ocean-based. The theme is Oceans of Possibilities, and I'm going to showcase a little bit about conservation and specifically some of the things that are happening in their region with some pollutions and tributaries in that area, and be able to connect some cool water density experiments with that. So if there are any educators that are out there that are interested in doing some collaborative work or doing some unique STEM outreach work with your schools, feel free to give me a buzz. Let me know. I am all about that. I say, okay, great. Would you say the humor or comic personality is born or developed? That's a great question. I would say it's both in a way. I think it's both because there's certain things that we all know people, right, that you talk to that are just naturally funny people, right? That they just have this intrinsic way to be able to connect with people. They're just kind of suave, they're smooth, they know what to say in the right moments, they know how to make the right connections with different things. You have some naturally funny, high energy, humorous people. But then there's some people like, you know, I'm a firm believer in your environment shapes you as well too, your upbringing, things that you're exposed to. So you can definitely grow up and be exposed to different things. Maybe you might start off as a shy, more introverted person, but then you get exposed to things and you find a passion, you find something that you love and you run with it. You can develop a lot of those skills and become better at your craft and different things that you do. So I think that can definitely be both. I think you can be a naturally born, humorous, fun, high energy person. And that's something you could also grow into as well. Even when I started doing my hip hop science platform, if you look like I would share it right now, but I had some of my original videos that I did, like some of my very first kind of hip hop science themed videos. And I look at them now and I'm like, oh, I cringe because I'm like, the beats weren't hitting right. So the connections to the deep science wasn't there, all sorts of different things, but I gained these skills as I continued to navigate and did more work. And I'm a firm believer in taking action, doing that work, because you'll grow into your skills. Sometimes people feel like they have to have everything figured out before they start something. And the proper way is to just do it, to just like Nike says, just do it. Go out there and put yourself out there. You'll acquire skills. You'll continue to gain skill sets as you grow, connect with people, watch other people, you know, find people that inspire you. All those different things will help you grow within your skill set. So I definitely think that's something that can be acquired over time for sure. Meg says, I'm only funny when I talk about science. I'm sure you're funny in other times as well, too. I'm sure lots of people will tell you that you are absolutely hilarious. Yes, tips for developing the skill. Yeah, like I said, I think the staying connected and actually just taking action. Another funny story, and I don't know how long I have here. I'm just over here ranting, talking about shit. So let me know when people got to go and stuff. I don't want to be holding everybody up for the evenings, but I guess I'll answer a couple more and then let everybody go. But kind of funny story. When I moved out to LA, I had a lot of friends that were comedians that were doing stand-up, right? And I go to all these different stand-up shows and I'd watch these comedians. I'm like, I can do that. He's not that funny. I can do that. And so one of my friends was like, go do it. They have an open mic night. And so they had this open mic night at Flappers Comedy Club. And I did my first like open mic stand-up. And apparently I did well enough because I got booked by one of the booking managers there for another show. And then I got booked for another show. And then I had this weird like 2-month run doing stand-up at all these like crazy comedy clubs throughout Los Angeles. And it was weird because I'm over here writing stuff and I'm like, am I a comedian now? It wasn't my lane, but I was just doing it because an opportunity opened up and I was like, oh, I wonder how this could help. And I had some shows that I'd go and I'd kill it. And then I had some shows where I do the exact same set and it was crickets. And I was like, oh my God, this is too extreme. This is too crazy. But I look back at that experience and one of the things that it helped me with was one, my confidence, self-confidence to be able to come front and center in front of people. Because I don't think people realize that stand-up was one of the toughest jobs, to be able to be front and center in front of a stage of hundreds of people and everybody's looking at you like, make me laugh right now and expecting you to be funny. Like that's a lot of pressure. And being able to be part of a pressure situation like that helped me in so many different ways. It helped me on camera when I was doing projects. It helped me in my training to be able to be connected as an actor, to be able to think on my feet, to be able to remember lines, all these different things that I didn't even think about. It helped me. And I think it was very valuable in a lot of the work that I do now with a lot of the creative content that I do, because a lot of people ask, like I work with brands and all sorts of different organizations that ask me to create video content or do scripts based around communicating some sort of different science theme in an interesting way. And to be able to now have that experience to kind of feel like I know what hits in different moments stemmed from having that background and having that time spent in something that was not my lane, but something that I did and I tried and I learned something from it. So that is definitely one way to help develop the skill for sure. If you could clone yourself and have a full-time science career, In addition to hip hop science, what field would you choose? This is funny because one of my good friends, Dustin Growick, he goes by the Dinosaur Whisperer. I don't know if you guys follow him, but paleontologist, super funny guy, super creative. And he proposed this on his Twitter, something very similar. And I said I would go into herpetology. I always wanted to be a herper. I guess I wanted to be a herper. I want to study specifically amphibians. I'm an amphibian lover. I love frogs and toads and salamanders. Those are my absolutely favorite organisms. And so I would absolutely just love to be in the rainforest for 30 days studying amphibians. That would be my career in STEM if I wasn't doing this crazy hip hop science platform.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Maynard, for sharing. It's so fascinating to hear. Everyone has such a different journey to get to science communication. And it's so fascinating to hear kind of how you went from engineering and then made this kind of transition using your entertainment experience as well. And I'm so jealous of your Nautilus experience. And it was so cool to see and read about it. If anyone has any last minute questions, feel free to type them in the chat. And let me share again. So Maynard's handles are Hip Hop Science Show, which definitely follow him. His content is incredible, as you've seen. And if you're interested in learning more about Bowseat and our contest, or participating in the contest, I recommend you follow us on social media at From the Bowseat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to me rant about my love of science. As I said, if anybody wants to connect, feel free to give me a holler. But thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And hopefully this was exciting for you and fun for you. And if you're navigating your own path in STEM, hopefully this was some encouragement and some motivation to do something fun and new and intriguing. But go out there and stay curious, my friends. Appreciate it.